The Blades Ramble is proudly sponsored by My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. Contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk for more information or follow the link in the description below.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades, and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is 10-minute transfers. And we're doing them slightly differently this week, this moment, because obviously there's ongoing speculation about the future of Chris Wilder. And as part of that, a lot of the transfer targets that were in the ether seem to have sort of dried up a little bit in terms of they've certainly been paused. And we've talked about the majority of names, if not all of the names, that have had a legitimate link. So we are committed to doing our 10-minute transfers like we told you we would be, certainly throughout June. And I'm going to stick to that. And as part of that, we have adapted what we've been doing. And I certainly hope that people don't find this disrespectful that we are looking into alternative managers, because nobody, or certainly not many people, want Chris Wilder to remain as Sheffield United manager more than me. I think he's the best man for the job. I think I can't see anybody that comes in and could potentially do it at 92 points. We keep saying the same thing, don't we? 92 points, beat Wednesday twice. But ultimately, this appears to be the direction that the new owners have taken in terms of it looks likely that he will now be moved on. And as part of that, new managerial names are linked. And the first one that we looked at yesterday was Ruben Sellers. What if it's Sellers? Well, today we're looking at what if it's Gary ONeal. So if it's Gary ONeal coming into the football club, due to his contract with his previous clubs and sort of stints there, players that he's managed, who could he bring in out of his? Because you often see Russell Martin's doing it a lot at Rangers now, going back for old players, Flynn Downs and Harry Darling and players like that he likes from previous stints. It's a regular thing that managers do. They look back to players that they trust, players that they know can do a good job. So Ruben Sellers yesterday, we talked about Charlie Hughes and Stephen Alzate from Hull that might come in and make an impact at Sheffield United. There's no hard links to these players. It's just putting two and two together in terms of what this manager might bring in terms of contacts and preferences. So today, looking at Gary ONeal, it's going to be slightly different because it's not two new names that we haven't heard before. In fact, the first name on the list, somebody that Gary ONeal managed at Bournemouth, is Chris Meppam. Chris Meppam has been heavily linked with Sheffield United throughout the closed season. He was our first 10-minute transfer video that we did. So in order to have a little quick look, just a refresher on terms of what he could bring to our squad, Chris Meppam is contracted, as we've been made aware, his contract. There were a lot of people thinking he was out of contract at the end of the season, but the club do have an extra year's option on Chris Meppam's deal. So essentially, he's a bit like an Ellis for us. May well not go for his maximum value, but I think will still cost a transfer fee to get him out of the club. They are looking for in and around £10 million by all accounts. They'll get nowhere near that in his last year. I think we'll aim to do a deal if we're in the market for him at around £5 to £6 million. And I think that'd be a really good signing for a 27-year-old defender, a Welsh international. He played 40 times for Sunderland last season in a very good season for them. They weren't expected to be as high as they were. Obviously went on to be promoted, came onto the field at Wembley, and we ended up being in the winning side against Sheffield United. Chris Meppam only got the one goal last season, but obviously that's not what defenders are predominantly measured on. His tackles won. He wins more tackles than he loses. Obviously, these are 50-50s. He's there to recover the ball, clearly, but he wins 60% of his tackles. In terms of his aerial duels, he wins 60% of those as well. His duels, shoulder to shoulder and other things like that. His aerial duels, he wins nearly 2/3 of his aerial duels. A lot of ball recoveries in there. He has got 9 yellow cards and 1 red card this season, so discipline is something that he would potentially have to look at. He's also a right-footed defender, which certainly from previous experience under Chris Wilder, he doesn't like 2 right-footed defenders alongside each other. It's not a deal breaker by any means. It's a desirable rather than an essential quality, but it's something that we do look at. And if he were to come into the side, it's hard to see him alongside ONeal Ahmedhodzic at the moment. It's more likely that he will be the right-hand side, possibly next to Jack Robinson, and we'd have to be looking at a left-sided central defender. That's certainly under Chris Wilder, but obviously we are looking at the potential of it being Gary ONeal. Now, Gary ONeal's second link that I'm putting forward, again, we know even more about this boy than we know about Chris Meppam because he's been a Blade before. And at Wolves, Gary ONeal was instrumental in bringing this man in. It's Tommy Doyle. Tommy Doyle, a fan favourite at Sheffield United, understandably so, had some great moments in the red and white. That Blackburn last-minute winner will live long in the memory. Tommy Doyle, all-action midfielder, can do a little bit of everything, great in a crunching tackle, has passing ability, not quite Ollie Norwood levels, but certainly up there, would certainly be one of the best progressive midfielders in our side. I think he's quite a cultured midfielder. Captain the Man City under-23s. He was bought by Wolves in an absolute steal of a deal, and they have. It's often spoken about that he was part like a make way in the Matheus Nunes deal to Man City, where Nunes went for a huge fee to Man City from Wolves. And as part of that deal, Tommy Doyle went to Man City. I don't think that's quite right, reading up on it a little bit. I think what's happened is they've used that as leverage to say, well, we want Tommy Doyle as not as part of the deal per se, but if we're doing you the ultimate favour and saying you can have him, we want Tommy Doyle on a loan with the obligation or option to buy. I'm not sure which one of the two it was. They got him on loan initially, Tommy Doyle, and they activated a buy option, which was for something in and around 4 million quid, an absolute steal for a player of that quality. But it's also said to be close to the value that is available for now. £3.5 million would be available and would be enough to get him out of Wolves. And Gary ONeal has that link. So you have to assume, because he's contracted till 2028, but there's a 2-year option, according to Transfer Market, on Tommy Doyle's deal. He did play 26 times for Wolves in the Premier League last season, but he only started 3 of those. Oh, sorry, he played 24 times in the Prem. He played 26 times overall, but he only started 3 Premier League games for him. He has got an assist. His rating isn't the best because he hasn't had many minutes on the field. But again, it's at the highest level. His dribble success is 83%. So still really positive in terms of carrying the ball. But what do we think to a potential Tommy Doyle return? Now, I know it's going to be a popular one, and a lot of people want to see Tommy Doyle back at the Lane, me included. There's a couple of things that I will say to that. First thing is, we are stacked in centre midfield. And I think, in all honesty, unless we're sticking with one striker up front, where the depth is then ridiculous with Campbell, Cannon, and Moore, then I think central midfielder currently is our most stacked position. And I include left back in that assessment. We are likely to lose at least one centre midfielder, if not 2. And that would then be a necessity to get someone like Tommy Doyle in, who would start for us, I think, in a lot of circumstances, particularly if somebody like Vinny Souza were to leave. The other thing I want to caveat this with, and again, it goes back to my original point. Yes, Gary ONeal has the pull to get these 2 players in, Chris Meppam and Tommy Doyle, but there's someone else who would have the pull to get these players in, and he's already in the hot seat at Sheffield United. Chris Wilder would not easily, that's the wrong way of putting it, but I don't think he's outdone by Gary ONeal in terms of luring these players to Bramall Lane. So we don't need to make a change to bring these two players who would definitely make a difference to Sheffield United, undoubtedly, but it doesn't need to be Gary ONeal, in my opinion, that does that. So again, this is not per se about Gary ONeal. These videos are more if these managers come in, what could they bring in terms of personnel on the field? I don't think we need Gary O'Neill to get these deals done. So let me know what you think in the comments. I really appreciate everybody joining us today. It's still a really tricky time for Sheffield United. I understand that, but we are trying to keep you all sane and keep you all up to date with what's going on. Keep your notifications on, because if anything does drop, and it might have dropped before I drop this video, because I'm recording the day before. But you let me know what you think in the comments. And undoubtedly, I will see you very soon. So come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades.